Botswana's new president, Duma Boko, says the general elections in that country have taken democracy to another level. He made the remarks during his acceptance speech after he was sworn in during a closed session in the office of the Chief Justice. Boko took his oath of office on Friday after the governing Botswana Democratic Party lost power after 58 years.
Ega nono hakan ya kwa mama la tinasa to weheta uso ya batoka batongola hatse la rola Botswana inunu hile I dare not fail. I dare not disappoint. And I pledge with every fiber of my being that I will do everything I can not to fail, not to disappoint.
For more on this story, let's chat to political sciences lecturer at the University of Botswana, Dr. Gabriel Malebang. Good morning and welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning and good morning to your viewers.
Firstly, Doctor, how do you think these election outcomes will impact the political landscape of Botswana, especially with the opposition's historic win?
Well, I'd say it's very interesting times to be alive in Botswana. And the election result was definitely a big shock to everybody, including all analysts and experts who had tried to predict the outcome. Nobody really saw it coming. And least of all, nobody saw it coming, with this magnitude. And this is indeed a big win for our democracy, because despite the 58 years that Botswana has been independent, there's never really been democratic consolidation. That is to say that the country's democratic maturity had never been tested at the polls by a transfer of power from one political party to another in a stable way. As the political scientists have spoken about a two-turnover test, where to test a country's democratic maturity, there has to be a transfer of power from one political party to another peacefully 2 times over for a country to be regarded as having a mature democracy. And in Botswana's case, it has been a 58-year-old democracy, but which had never really been tested. So this is indeed a historic moment for Botswana.
And in your expert opinion, Doctor, what are the main reasons behind the UDC securing an absolute majority?
Well, there's a multiplicity of reasons. Key among them is the fact that I guess the performance of the economy in the immediate run-up to the elections, where for the first time in the country's history, it was reported that our foreign reserves, which had never really been touched before, were depleted. And there were even fears that in the last quarter of the year, the government may even struggle to meet some of its obligations, including paying salaries or even paying some of the suppliers who had provided services to the government. And as you know, Botswana has been a welfare state or a developmental state, and the citizens had grown accustomed to that stability and certainty, particularly economic stability. And I believe this was more of a protest vote from the voters who were no longer confident. There was a deficit in trust that the Botswana Democratic Party perhaps had, the ability to continue that trajectory of managing the country's fiscus. And I guess voters felt that they should give another political party a chance. Another issue is as recently as last year, there were reports that there was a shortage of medicines in our hospitals, as well as some concerns in the dilapidated infrastructure in the schools, as well as emerging elite corruption, which in some quarters, some felt that was going unchecked or not much was being done to curtail it. So it's a combination of those factors, really, that perhaps gave the opposition umbrella for democratic change a chance. In the past, the opposition got to realize that the only way to unseat the ruling party was to get into a coalition, as seen in the 2014 elections, where the vote of the combined vote of opposition parties had 53% of the popular vote. And I guess the voters as well were aware of this, and they rewarded the party which had gone into a coalition, the Umbrella for Democratic Change, which is made up of the Botswana National Front, the Alliance for Progressives, as well as the Botswana People's Party.
All right. Can you discuss the role of coalition politics in Botswana's electoral landscape?
Yes, previously, some political scientists had described Botswana as a choiceless democracy. This coming from the fact that it would seem voters did not have much confidence or trust in opposition political parties. Either the ideologies or the campaign messages of such opposition parties didn't appear to be appealing to the citizens. But another reason could very well have been that some may have felt that the ruling party, despite some of the challenges it may have encountered, was doing pretty well. So there could have been an attitude of why fix what's not broken. But then this time around, I guess also some ordinary citizens may have felt that the leadership in the outgoing Botswana Democratic Party may have been out of touch with the needs and the sentiments of the citizens on the ground, as evidenced by the shock that the leadership of the Botswana Democratic Party also expressed, because nobody really saw this seismic outcome. Nobody really saw it coming. And, it's an unprecedented time. And indeed, it remains to be seen what it means for Botswana's democracy going forward.
So let's talk about what it does mean for Botswana's democracy going forward. Doctor, how do you think the newly elected president will address the country's economic challenges?
Well, gauging from the campaign messages of his party, he campaigned on the theme of human rights and, trying to appeal to the voters that, his party will address the most pressing human rights issues, particularly the minimum wage to be raised from around 1,800 kula to 4,000 kula, dealing with unemployment. I guess from his acceptance speech, he also mentioned that of top priority would be the restoration of the economy. As I've mentioned, Botswana having been known for its economic stability and prosperity, having gone from being amongst the 10 poorest countries in the world at independence to being an upper middle income country at present. There's important and urgent work to do to restore the economy so that the revenues are able to facilitate the developmental state and the welfare programs. And one issue also is to engage with one of our strategic partners, who is DBS, because Botswana's main revenue earner, or the mainstay of Botswana's economy, is diamonds, as you may know. And recently there were reports that the relations between the outgoing leadership and our strategic partners, DBS, had been strained. So we heard in his acceptance speech, the President-elect Duma Boko mentioning that the first step would perhaps be to engage with the partners to try and establish what really led to those strained relations and how they can be restored in order for the revenues of the country to trickle in again to facilitate the country's development programs, and indeed in order for the manifesto promises of the UDC to be realized.
All right. Which leads us to a very important question now. How do you think the international community will respond to the change in government? What implications might it have for Botswana's relationship with other countries?
Well, I believe Botswana being a small country, the centerpiece of Botswana's foreign policy is the region, Southern Africa. And by the region, Botswana being a member of SADC, this change of government, as I described earlier, is a consolidation of democracy. And in the region, according to the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections, the SADC Protocol on Politics, Defense and Security, as well as the SADC Treaty, it should be celebrated when there's a democratic consolidation in a member state. And I believe, just like it has happened in other countries experiencing transfer of power, the newly elected government will be accepted and embraced in the region and the continent, as well as internationally, because also the confidence in Botswana's democratic credentials was further boosted by the magnanimous and gracious manner in which the outgoing President Masisi conceded even before the final counting of the ballots had been done, and he reached out to President-elect Boko, and all of this was televised in front of the international media, which is in keeping with Botswana's democratic culture, stability, for there to be no election-related violence or instability. And indeed, it's an auspicious time for the country.
All right. Doctor, thank you so much for your time.